Crime Stoppers is seeking information regarding the suspicious death of a 15-year-old female found in a vacant field in the Maples area on December 5th, 1987. Shortly after 11 a.m. on Saturday, December 5th, 1987, a call to the Winnipeg Police Department led officers to a vacant field in the Maples area in the north end of the city. Here, police discovered the body of a 15-year-old female, Cheryl Duck, lying face down. At the time, the girl was fully clothed, and initial investigation has shown that she had suffered facial injuries as a result of being assaulted. Further investigation led police to believe that between 10 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. on Friday, December 4th, 1987, the evening before the body was discovered, Cheryl Duck was seen in the area of Kingsbury Avenue and McPhillip Street talking to an occupant of a vehicle. Police continue to investigate this suspicious death and ask anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers as soon as possible. Crime Stoppers will pay up to $2,000 in cash for information leading to the solution of this crime. If you have information on this or any other unsolved crime in Winnipeg, call Crime Stoppers at 786-TIPS. That's 786-8477.
If you only had a moment and the world was listening, what would you say about peace? You could say recognizing the oneness of mankind is fundamental to real peace. Racism is loose in the world. It's one of our oldest and most destructive evils. Racism violates the dignity of man and has no place in a peaceful world. True unity requires compassion and loving kindness towards all peoples of the earth. Peace is more than just an end to war. Conflicts just as deadly are raging on hidden battlefields in our hearts and minds. Let's talk peace. Real peace. Racial, religious, social, economic, personal peace. Peace is possible because it too begins in the heart. A thought for peace from the Baha'is of Canada.
Everybody has their own reasons for drinking responsibly, for planning ahead and making sure they get home from a party safely, for waiting till after work to join the gang for a drink, and giving their lifestyle a healthy balance. Everybody has their own reasons. Think about yours.
Where's the candle?
It was here last winter.
This isn't last winter, this is this winter.
Here's the can it goes in.
A lot of heat that'll make a can with no candle.
The blanket's gone too. You should have checked the forecast.
I should have checked the forecast. We don't even have a scraper.
I'm freezing.
So am I.
It can happen here. Prepare for tomorrow, today.
Imagine your child living in a world of his own, unable to break out. In his solitary world, he repeats gestures and activities over and over. This is the world of autism, a lifelong disorder of communication and behavior. But early diagnosis and education can expand this world. I know. I'm William Christopher, the parent of an autistic child. For more information and referral services, please contact your local Autism Society.
I said now, Louie, Louie, well, me gotta go, I said, me gotta go, well, me gotta go, I said now, me gotta
This
go.
sale is dedicated to all you audio and video buffs. You got to go.
I said.
those outdoors. The land. Don't leave it lonely in the winter. Because the winter's too beautiful to waste. Come out. Get skibound.
It's hard to put it all together by yourself, to create the kind of home where your family can grow and prosper. That's why we look out for each other, for our friends and neighbors too, why we're always searching, with them and the police, for new ways to build and maintain a safe and healthy community, a prosperous and happy home. We're no superheroes, just people together, partners in preventing crime.
Kids, I got one word for you. Schmockey. Okay, now I'm going to tell you what the word means. It's a lot of fun. You know what we're going to do? We're going to hit Sandy Coleman in the face with a pie.
Tonight on Rock and Roll Thursday, new videos from Sons of Freedom, Rap, Kiss, and Testament. Right here at 11 on Rockline.
From the Manitoba Television Network. Prairie Pulse at 10. With Ted Dellert. Sports with Keith McMahon. Environment Specialist Ron Thompson. Entertainment with Jennifer Whidden. And the Prairie Pulse News Team.
Making headlines tonight, the search goes on near Richer for a missing Winnipeg woman. A shortage of acute care beds at Grace Hospital is creating problems. And the East Coast gets a body slam from a severe winter storm. Good evening, everyone. Winnipeg City Police and RCMP continued their search today for 33-year-old Christine Jack. Officials are releasing very few details of the search. An analysis of a substance found yesterday is continuing, and a random search of a dense wooded area was carried out again today. Police had been using snowmobiles to comb the area, but today about 12 officers were joined by a police search dog. The search is focusing now on an area of dense bush about 2 kilometers east of the town of Richer. Christine Jack's husband, Brian, was arrested and charged with her murder yesterday. The woman has been missing from Winnipeg since December 17th. Winnipeg's Grace Hospital has run into a bit of a problem. There just isn't enough room to hold all its patients. As a result, the administration there is asking the public to use other healthcare facilities for treatment until the problem can be solved. As Kelly Den reports, chronic long-term patients are taking up some acute care beds.
321-bed Grace Hospital is all booked up. Admissions have been cut back, but people are still crammed into the observation room. 12 people share this area, including Rose Furman, who's been here since Sunday.
Well, I've always liked my privacy in the first place.
And what's the privacy like here?
Nil. Except when you manage to go on the pen and they close the curtains.
Non-essential surgery has been curtailed, and the hospital is asking ambulances and the public to use other healthcare facilities if the situation is not life-threatening. Hospital administration admits this isn't the best way to deliver health care.
Our staff certainly have more difficulties when it's so crowded. It's very difficult to care for people and to provide them the services that they need. And we're always concerned that it may get to a point where we aren't able to care for people satisfactorily.
The reason for the backlog can be explained here in the hospital's general medical ward. About 60 elderly patients on this floor should be in personal care homes. Instead, they occupy acute care beds. Deer Lodge and the municipal hospitals can take a few, but that's all.
Because there are no vacancies in those homes, they tend to stack up in the hospital.
Overcrowding is a problem at all Winnipeg hospitals right now, so Grace really doesn't have the option of transferring patients. Hospital administrators say the answer will come when more personal care beds are built, like a new 30-bed facility scheduled for construction here this year. Kelly Dan, Prairie Pulse.
The Manitoba Task Force on Daycare kicked off its first Winnipeg meeting today. So far, the task force has traveled to 17 rural communities, and its chairperson, Linda McNair, says it's addressed many issues, and they include salaries paid to daycare workers.
Accessibility from the point of view of the rural community, there's a bit of a problem there. So far, we haven't heard very much from the city about that, although from what I've just heard in general, there's some concern about the number of spaces available. Affordability centers are telling us that they feel they need higher maintenance grants. Whether parents are willing to pay higher daily fees We don't know yet.
Well, AIDS can kill. That's a message we've heard time and time again. But it doesn't seem to be sinking in for some Canadians. The two groups who aren't listening as closely as they might are teenagers and intravenous drug users. As Frankie Catoni reports, the Alberta government has decided to spend some extra time getting the AIDS message through to those groups.
AIDS is usually associated with gay men. Most people don't think of school-aged children as being in a high-risk group capable of spreading the deadly disease. But a recent study shows many adolescents are sexually active, some as early as 11 years old. What's frightening is most don't realize the dangers of AIDS and don't practice safe sex.
A lot of adolescents and young adults are not practicing safer sex, are not protecting themselves, and that's certainly a population that's going to have a lot more attention paid to it.
School boards throughout the province have implemented AIDS education programs in the health curriculum. David Fitzgerald hopes all schools will eventually teach their students about the dangers of AIDS and all sexually transmitted diseases. The province and the AIDS network will also be using various awareness campaigns to target the intravenous drug user.
It's one group that has not really received a lot of attention, and nationally it is starting to receive a lot of attention. So in different cities across the country, programs are being developed to address that population.
Intravenous drug users are being told to use a bleach and water solution to clean needles before each use to help decrease the spread of AIDS. However, Dr. Bryce Lark says education is not enough. He feels society's attitude towards sex has to change. The incidence of the disease is going to slow down.
Until it becomes unacceptable to pick up somebody in a bar and have unprotected sex with a stranger, or live that kind of high and fast lifestyle that we know contributes to the spread of this, as does the use of these drugs, you're not going to see a big change.
Dr. Lark feels AIDS can be prevented. He says if you don't take any chances, you won't be at risk.
Winnipeg may soon follow the lead of cities like Toronto in establishing a citywide recycling program. The whole plan, though, depends on a $100,000 joint pilot project in the Wolseley area. Marianne Cloak has that story.
Right now, if city residents want to recycle items like newspapers or aluminum cans, they have to take them to a recycling depot. But if this environmentalist has his way, residents will be able to deposit reusable materials into a blue box by their garbage can. The items would be collected by the city once a week.
Well, the project is a demonstration project, so it's small scale. It would employ 4 people over the course of 1 year, and the total budget would be about $100,000. Employment and Immigration will provide about 90% of that funding. So I'm hoping that either the city or the province will make up the difference.
Barker says he's met with all 3 levels of government to sell his idea. The program would be piloted in the Wolseley area where Barker lives. It would involve about 1,000 homes.
It's one way that the ordinary citizen could make a contribution to keeping our environment safe for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Oh, I've got 4 boxes downstairs, and I'm already starting to do that sort of thing.
But some city officials say while they support the idea of recycling, they question whether Winnipeg needs this type of program, even though it already exists in many other Canadian cities. They say Winnipeg's Brairie landfill site will last for another 40 years, and finding markets to sell recycled goods is a big problem.
The difficulty is when you begin separating materials, unless you have ready markets for it, you have to end up landfilling that material or in some other way disposing of that material if you can't sell it or give it to someone.
The city says it will probably carry out its own study on recycling before making any decision on the pilot program. Marianne Cloak, Prairie Pulse.
Winnipeg police are looking for a native male in his 20s following a mid-afternoon robbery at a downtown bank. Police say a lone male approached the 27-year-old female teller at the Bank of Montreal at 1468 Main Street just after 3:30 this afternoon. He indicated he had a gun and demanded some cash. After receiving an undisclosed amount of money, the man fled on foot onto Inkster Boulevard. He's believed to have made his escape in a red car. No shots were fired during that incident, and there were no injuries. Meantime, at about 5:15 this afternoon, yet another robber left his mark at the MediSave Drug Mart at 384 Portage Avenue. Police say a lone white male, also in his 20s, approached the 22-year-old female clerk there, produced a gun, and demanded cash. He fled the store on foot after receiving an undisclosed amount of money. Police say the man fled east on Portage Avenue on foot. Well, now with a look at some of the other stories in the news tonight, here's News Director Al Thorgerson with City Beat.
CBC technicians across the country could be on strike within the week. A federal conciliation report released yesterday recommended wage increases greater than the rate of inflation for CBC's 2,000 technicians. They are represented by NABET, and the employees have been asking for raises of 7% and 6.5% over 2 years. CBC, meantime, was criticized by the conciliator for offering 3.5% while inflation is running at more than 4%. The union will be in a legal strike position January 11. The Charleswood Arena that was hit by an ammonia leak Tuesday night will be closed until next week. The Eric Coy Arena was evacuated after an ammonia gas line valve in the electrical mechanical room was left open. The electrical panel sustained further damage when a flash fire broke out. Officials say the rink is expected to reopen Monday once the repairs have been completed. That's City Beat for tonight. Now out at the Weather Center, here's Ron Thompson.
Alan, thank you very much. We're expecting snow tomorrow and cold on the weekend. Details coming up right here on Prairie Pulse.
Some of Canada's top folk artists have gathered in Winnipeg to celebrate the music and the life of a legend. More on that coming up on the Molson Entertainment Report.
Okay, Jennifer, and an important Smythe Division division game tonight, LA versus Calgary. Keith McMahon will be along, and he'll have all the details for us coming up in sports. Well, a group of farmers from the McGregor area aren't letting the snow on the ground dampen their interest in agriculture. They're catching up with all the latest developments in their field. Bowden Gimbarski reports.
51 area farmers gathered at the community hall for Farm Update 89, sponsored by the municipality's Agriculture Society and Manitoba Agriculture. Among several speakers in the morning session was Henry Nelson of the Manitoba Crop Insurance Corporation, which is negotiating with Ottawa to redefine areas for better distribution of crop insurance.
Municipal boundaries, as you know, are not drawn on natural grounds. And if we can get boundaries drawn on climatic boundaries, we should reduce the variability within each of the areas and actually be able to target the assistance better to the areas most in need.
Oak River producer Robert Hopley also gave a report on the work of the Grains 2000 group, which has put together a new idea for stabilization programs.
It's designed to be one all-encompassing program and replace the existing programs such as Western Grain Stabilization, ASA, tripartite programs that are now in place. It'll be more commodity neutral. It's an individual program, so it'll be tailored to the individual's needs.
Other subjects discussed here at Farm Update 89 included a talk on the benefits to farmers of staying in the Western Grain Stabilization Program, an update on Red Spring wheat varieties, and topics designed specifically for better field management in the wake of last year's drought, shelter belts, soil nutrients, and water conservation. This one-day meeting is designed essentially as a refresher course for farmers to help them prepare for the upcoming season. In McGregor, Bowden Gimbarski, Prairie Pulse.
The 537 licensed dentists in this province have a new set of fee guidelines tonight. Dental fees will be going up in 1989, partly due to the cost of fighting the fear of AIDS. And Janice Wake has the details.
Dentists perform hundreds of different procedures. The annual fee guidelines give them, their patients, and insurance companies an idea of what those procedures should cost. This year, the Manitoba Dental Association has recommended fee increases of 4.4%. Besides normal increases in overhead, such as staff salaries and equipment, the association says mandatory infection control guidelines, spurred by the AIDS scare, have added another financial burden. Brandon dentist Tom Brenneman, an MDA board member, says such procedures cost an average dentist about $7,500 a year.
You'll notice that back behind the chair there's a box of gloves and a mask sitting there. Every time we treat a patient, or most times when we treat a patient, we wear gloves and a mask as well. The costs of that alone are fairly high. Besides that, there are different sterilization techniques. 10 years ago, we used to disinfect a lot of our instruments. Now we have to sterilize those instruments.
But despite the increases, Manitobans still enjoy the lowest dental rates in Canada. Brenneman says that dentists make up the fees in the number of patients who visit them.
It's been a philosophy held by the Manitoba Dental Association for a number of years, and it has been shown that it's been working. There are more patients, there are the percentage of Manitobans seeing a dentist are higher than the percentage of Canadians in other parts of the country.
Another MDA philosophy is to keep preventative procedures affordable. For the 4th straight year, no fee increases are recommended for procedures such as teeth cleaning. Janice Wake, Prairie Pulse.
Well, as Paul Harvey might say, stand by for snow. Ron Thompson joins us when we come back.
Does Elton John really need another $1 million? If it comes from a tabloid newspaper, he does. On the next Entertainment Tonight, get the inside story on how some British stars are taking the English tabloids to court and winning.
British press are the worst. They are a disgrace.
The headlines sell big, but British scandal sheets might have to think twice if this trend continues. See why the tabloids are finally on the run on the next Entertainment Tonight.
Discover the joys of a President's Choice Christmas, exclusively at Superstore.
If you don't believe you can get great service and a better deal in the country, talk to anyone who's dealt with Gretsinger Chev Olds. Hi, I'm Kurt Gretsinger, and I've got news for you. Lower overhead and over 50 years in a family car business means you can expect more from us. Right now, check out the lineup of Chevy trucks. And when you buy your new Chevy truck at Gretsinger Chev Olds, you'll know why we say that's a good country deal.
Gretsinger Chev Olds, half an hour east of Winnipeg on Highway 44.
This year's Manitoba Sweat. Pull one on at Warehouse One. Prairie Pulse pays $100 for the best news tip of the month. If you see news happening anywhere in southern Manitoba, call us. Now you can call us toll-free on MTS Cellular.
Welcome back. Ron Thompson joins us now live from the Weather Center with a look at a forecast that is none too pleasant tonight, Ron.
I was just checking things over here, and we're looking at around 3 to 6 centimeters of snowfall, and then to sort of add a little excitement to the weekend, we'll see if the car will start after we dig it out.
About minus 30 or so, eh?
Yeah, we're looking at, actually, I would suggest at a reverse trend on temperatures on Saturday. Now, Saturday morning, it's going to be about minus 22, maybe with a bit of radiant heat. We'll look at temperatures of about minus 20 by lunchtime, but then they're going to start to fall.
The snow cover is a little bit good news for the temperature anyway.
It sure is, but let's go to the map and I'll show you what's cooking right now. Lots of snow out west. Weather advisory for southern Saskatchewan right now. Heavy snowfall warnings out for the Cypress Hills area, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, Calgary, and points in between. We're looking at a bunch of snow out there as this low pressure cell right now on the maritime front is intensifying. It's tracking very, very slowly in an eastern direction. Regina picking up some snow, so is Broadview. Brandon picking up a few flakes right now, but the heavier snow will start in southern Manitoba probably by dawn in the morning. Now, we're looking at anywhere, as I said, around 3 to 5 centimeters of snow out of this particular system, and it looks as though most of the heavier snow will be along the international boundary right now. Bit of an easterly flow, but the winds will shift late tomorrow as the low pulls by more northerly. And you know what that's going to do? It's going to pull down this Arctic high pressure cell into central Saskatchewan by probably late tomorrow night, early Saturday morning. And with that strong northerly flow, temperatures, boom, down they go to about minus 22 degrees come Saturday, about minus 24 highs, then dropping down to minus 31 on Sunday. Clear as a bell, minus 22 the high. Starting to warm up again, hopefully by Monday. The big news is, of course, the snow. No weather advisories out right now, but we could see some drifting and blowing in the open areas, especially tomorrow as we do get into the heavier snow. Okay, doke, let's have a look at the temperatures up in Inuvik tonight. It's minus 25, minus 34, right in the center of that Arctic high pressure cell in Whitehorse. Minus 11 Prince George, 3 Vancouver, 2 Victoria. Edmonton, minus 15, minus 11 Calgary. Saskatoon, minus 18, minus 9. And Regina, Thunder Bay, minus 6. Minus 6 also in Toronto. Ottawa and Montreal, minus 21. Minus 11 in Halifax. And the storm receding now in St. John's at minus 2 degrees. And they had just a terrible day yesterday with that storm up there. Minus 4 degrees in New York, 19 in Miami. Brownsville, 22, 20 Dallas, 1 Chicago, minus 4 Minneapolis, St. Paul, 4 Denver, 14 Phoenix, Vegas, 12, 11 LA, San Francisco reporting in with 7 degrees. Needless to say, I think you know what the forecast is going to say. Let's have a gander at it right now to just confirm our suspicions. Cloudy skies tonight with flurries. Thank goodness for the light winds overnight, but at breakfast time it'll be cloudy, and we're forecasting a low of about minus 15 to minus 18 degrees at wake-up time tomorrow morning. I would suggest maybe a little lower than that. And for tomorrow, it'll be cloudy. The winds are going to increase, as you can see, northeast at 30. Snow, maybe 5 centimeters maximum. And with the snow and the winds out of the northeast at 30, some blowing and drifting in southern Manitoba. Minus 13 the high. And then on Saturday, the snow will end in the early morning hours. Temperatures down to minus 22 degrees and not much rise. Minus 20, actually losing a few degrees by late Saturday afternoon with the core of high moving down. Sunday, here's what it looks like, sunny and cold. Monday, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies. Record high, 4.3, 1984. The record low, minus 40, 1896. Normal, minus 14 for a high, 23 for a low. Minus 25 and 31 1 year ago. Sun rose at 8:26. It's set at 4:42. Here's your provincial conditions. Minus 9 Brandon, 18 Gimli, Dauphin, 9, 19 The Pas, 23 Thompson, all minus. 20 Churchill, 13 Gretna, 14 Grand Forks. Winnipeg right now minus 17, northwest at 7. In Portage La Prairie, it is minus 13, north at 4, 92%. Little snow on the way. We'll have a white Ukrainian Christmas, that's for sure. Have yourself a good one. Easy does it. Ted for now. That's the weather.
Okay, dig out the pierogies and cabbage rolls. It's coming up, isn't it? Saturday?
You got her, fella.
All right, we're counting down the days to that, too. Thanks, Ron.
You bet.
Well, to national news now. 4 people have been killed while trying to enter the United States illegally. 2 Asian women and their 2 children apparently drowned in the fast-moving Niagara River while they were trying to cross the border in a small rubber raft. Officials are investigating the possibility the incident may be connected to a major alien smuggling ring. Laurent Sabarin has the details.
The body of a woman in her 30s, believed to be from Malaysia, was discovered Tuesday afternoon washed up on the U.S. side of the Niagara River near Youngstown, New York. Pieces of a flimsy raft used to transport the woman were floating nearby. Another woman and 2 children were believed to have been in the vessel as well. Papers found in the water linked the dead woman to Canada. The U.S. immigration authorities called in the RCMP for assistance.
Because they wanted some inquiries done within Canada on information they recovered at the scene where the body was found. There's things like telephone numbers and addresses and so on that they want checked out.
But giving the U.S. authorities information is likely to be the extent of RCMP involvement in this and most suspected alien smuggling cases.
In any investigations we have done along these lines, we have found invariably that the so-called alien is legally in Canada. There is a charge under Canadian law that can be laid. It's extremely difficult to prove it. The charge is conspiracy to violate U.S. immigration laws. Off the top of my head, I don't know where that charge has ever been laid in Canada and successfully prosecuted.
The illegal aliens and arrangers of alien smuggling operations are certainly violating U.S. law. A conviction could bring 5 years in prison. But alien smuggling is a lucrative business, and Niagara is a popular route for the clandestine operations.
Smuggling in this area is particularly difficult for us to handle because it is the major corridor for smuggling from Canada into the United States. Most of the people who are smuggled don't remain in the Buffalo or Western New York area. They go on to New York City, Newark, Philadelphia.
Alien smugglers will use any means to get their victims into the States, loaded onto boats, stuffed in car trunks, hidden in trucks, and armed with false documents. Any means they believe won't be detected by immigration inspectors. People involved in smuggling operations, and in most cases those being smuggled into the U.S., are doing nothing illegal as far as Canadian authorities are concerned. And they add that the smuggling of aliens into the States from Canada is strictly a U.S. immigration problem. In Youngstown, New York, Lauren Sabrin, Newsroom 11.
Well, statements made recently by Ontario Premier David Peterson may have belayed the fact, but the junior federal trade minister says he's confident Ontario will implement those provisions of the free trade deal that require the reduction of a price markup on imported wines in that province. However, as Ken McDonald reports from Ottawa tonight, John McDermott says the federal government isn't prepared to wait forever.
David Peterson's decision to defy the free trade deal by refusing to reduce imported wine markups could lead to a showdown with Ottawa. Under the deal, those reductions were to begin this week, but the province continues to impose a hefty markup.
It's of concern to us, of course.
Junior Trade Minister John McDermott says if Ontario fails to act by the end of this month, there is another option.
The federal government has the power to bring in regulations demanding that it be done, and in fact doing it.
But Liberal House Leader Herb Gray defends Peterson's actions and says instead of taking a heavy-handed approach, the Mulroney government should first take action to ensure Ontario's wine industry will not be left without some form of significant compensation.
Rather than huffing and puffing as McDermott has done, I think he should sit down with Peterson or his ministers to deal with the real concerns Peterson is expressing on behalf of thousands of Canadians who live in Ontario and who are connected with the wine industry.
With American officials now openly expressing their concern over Peterson's actions, the Mulroney government says there is no more time for negotiation on the wine issue. Ottawa is prepared to act unilaterally to force a change in the pricing policy. But it may not all end there. Ontario could always challenge such a move in the courts. Ken McDonald, Independent Satellite News, Ottawa.
Late tonight, Premier Peterson changed his tune slightly, though. He says now he wants to avoid a legal battle with Ottawa. So he's now prepared to go along with the Free Trade Pact, provided that Ottawa considers some compensation for Ontario's wine and grape growing industry. Well, controversy is brewing over a suggestion that Alberta's Solicitor General that suspected drunk drivers should have their licenses suspended before they go to trial. But as Linda Steele reports, that plan has many critics who say it would be a violation of human rights. Even so, Solicitor General Marvin Moore says driving is a privilege, not a right.
In the very near future, a motorist charged with impaired driving causing death or serious injury may have their licenses suspended long before they ever see the inside of a courtroom. The way the system works now, a suspected drunk can continue to drive for months while they wait for their case to surface in the backlogged legal system. Solicitor General Marvin Moore said he wanted the public's opinion of his plan, and he got it.
I feel if you go behind the wheel when you're drinking, you lose your rights.
They've blown over the limit on something, so they have proof to go to court with. Take it away. They killed too many people.
As far as I'm concerned, if you're driving impaired, you should have your license suspended the minute you're caught.
But the head of the Criminal Trial Lawyers Association doesn't see it that way.
What they're proposing to do then is to punish before tried. And that just hits at one of the basic tenets of criminal law, which protects us all in every area of that law, and that is that you have the right to be presumed innocent before you're tried.
It's an argument that carries no weight with the Solicitor General.
It must be borne in mind that driving is a privilege, not a right, and holding a driver's license is a privilege, not a right. So there's no suggestion that we're taking somebody's rights away by not allowing them to hold a driver's license under certain circumstances.
Legally, the Driver Control Board could start yanking licenses as early as tomorrow. The Solicitor General says no laws or regulations need to be changed to do that, but he'd like to put the idea to his cabinet colleagues first before giving the Driver Control Board the green light to go ahead. Linda Steele, ITV News.
Well, still to come on Prairie Pulse tonight, we'll find out how well Newfoundland has been holding out against that severe storm that hit the area yesterday. We'll have that story when we come back.
There's something you can do with Cheerios you can't do with most cereals. Pour a full bowl and get almost no sugar. With Frosted Flakes, you get 10 times more sugar than Cheerios. And Raisin Bran, 8. Even Rice Krispies and Corn Flakes have more sugar. But you know what we like most about Cheerios? There's not a sinker in the bowl.
The unsinkable taste of Cheerios.
When it comes to electronics, nobody can offer the Majestic advantage. 1, we have the largest selection in Canada. 2, a no-hassle refund policy. If you're not fully satisfied, we'll refund your money. 3, a no-limit policy. If the unit doesn't work, we'll replace it. 4, a lowest price guarantee. If we don't beat your best price, it's yours free. For worry-free shopping, no one has the Majestic advantage.
Majestic Electronics Superstores. The selection, the guarantee, the price. The Harlem Globetrotters. It's the Harlem Globetrotters, here on their new world tour, making moves and magic like you've never seen before. The one and only Harlem Globetrotters. Catch them while you can.
Thursday, January 12th, Winnipeg Arena. Tickets available at select seat outlets. Presented by the Winnipeg Free Press and Coca-Cola Classic.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, guy. What are you doing in town?
Well, as Ron mentioned a few minutes ago, a severe winter storm has slammed into the Atlantic provinces of Canada. The storm had it all. Hurricane-force winds, bitter cold, floods, snow, and freezing rain. The coastal areas took the brunt of the storm's fury, with winds gusting upwards of 120 kilometers an hour. We have more in this report.
Winds began battering the east coast and Avalon and Burin peninsulas shortly after midnight last night. Gusting at times to 130 kilometers an hour, it didn't take long for people to start suffering some damages. By this morning, much of the effects were clearly visible. Businesses had lost signs. Even the big golden arches proved to be weaker than Mother Nature. Light and power crews were struggling to repair damaged lights and power lines. And the unfortunate owners of this trailer and vehicle awoke this morning to find both in a state of near ruin. But as the day progressed, the hurricane-force winds also continued. Parts of the Trans-Canada Highway became impassable due to whiteouts and ice on the pavement. Many motorists found out the hard way what driving in heavy crosswinds can do. Other car owners thought it best to leave their vehicles parked, but even that wasn't safe, as glass repair shops had a field day replacing blown-out windows. Many buildings have suffered considerable damages like downed chimneys and lost siding. While most vessels had headed for port with the first storm warnings received yesterday, even the normally quiet St. John's Harbor was a somewhat rocky haven today. Finally, the bad news is expected to carry on, as forecasters say the high winds will continue overnight and through most of tomorrow. Add to that, another 5 centimeters of snow, also forecast for Friday. For most Newfoundlanders, then, the weekend can't come too soon.
Internationally tonight, the United States has released a videotape of yesterday's shooting down of 2 Libyan jets over the Mediterranean Sea. And the quality of the tape is poor at times, but the United States State Department says it proves Libya is lying. Carl Rochelle has the latest.
1 minute after the F-14 Tomcat fighters from the carrier John F. Kennedy spotted the Libyan MiG-23s on their radar scope, they were maneuvering to keep the Libyans off their tail. 4 minutes and 5 evasive actions later, the F-14s fired.
At 12:01 and 20 seconds, the first Sparrow missile is fired by the lead F-14 at the MiG, at a MiG at a distance of 12 nautical miles.
Fox 1.
Oh, Jesus.
Beacon right. Roger that. 10 miles, he's back on my nose. Fox 1 again.
At 12:02 and 6 seconds, the second F-14 breaks away to the right and reports a good hit on the second MiG.
Good kill, good kill. Hey, good kill.
It was 8 minutes from the time the Libyan MiGs were first sighted until they were shot down. Libyan aircraft often come out to take a look at U.S. operations in the Mediterranean, but usually turn back when challenged. This time, the Pentagon says they just kept on coming. President Reagan, leaving Los Angeles to return to Washington, said the U.S. took the right action. The crew of the lead F-14 was flown back to Washington with their videotape as officials here defended their decision to fire.
As one of the pilots said, it's a pretty dang fool question as to whether they're carrying weapons or not. We certainly assume that any nation's fighter aircraft are carrying weapons. That's why they're built.
And the United States says pictures taken by the U.S. planes prove their Libyan challengers were armed and dangerous, despite Libyan protests to the contrary at the United Nations.
Tells me that the Libyan ambassador to the UN is a liar. That's the first thing it tells me. Because they've gone out yesterday and said repeatedly that those were unarmed reconnaissance aircraft. Well, we have the pictures now to prove that they were not unarmed aircraft. They were obviously armed aircraft with obvious hostile intent. We believe that our aircraft commanders behaved in a prudent manner in defending themselves, in defending their aircraft, defending their ship.
The Pentagon insists the matter is closed and the Kennedy Carrier Battle Group is headed for Israel, where it plans a port visit. But knowledgeable sources say a surer sign of how closed the matter is will be how long the battle group lingers in the Mediterranean beyond its planned departure date later this month. Carl Rochelle, CNN, The Pentagon.
The people of Lockerbie, Scotland buried 2 of their own today. 11 townspeople were killed in total when the remains of Pan Am Flight 103 rained down on that Scottish community. As Doug James reports, one of the victims buried today was a young girl.
The townspeople filed into the old stone church. The immense human tragedy now narrowed down to the faces of 2 grieving brothers. The funeral was for their 10-year-old sister, Joanne Flanagan, who died when pieces of the Pan Am plane crashed into her home on Sherwood Crescent. The service was also for their parents, whose bodies were never found.
We cannot sweep death under the carpet and make believe that everything is sweetness and light. It's a harsh reality and a bitter one, even in normal circumstances. In these circumstances, it's almost unbearable and unbelievable.
The church service over, the funeral procession made its way to a nearby cemetery. In the distance, the charred remains of the Flanagan home and the neighborhood where a total of 11 local people died. At the cemetery, a final goodbye to a little girl who just 2 weeks ago was looking forward to Christmas. In the hills overlooking Lockerbie, the search went on for pieces of wreckage that could provide clues to help the police track down Joanne Flanagan's killers and the killers of 269 other innocent victims of international terrorism. Doug James, CNN, Lockerbie.
Well, Jennifer Whitten joins us now, and we'll take a look at tonight's entertainment news.
Entertainment news on Prairie Pulse is brought to you by Molson Canadian Rocks, what music's all about.
Good evening. More than a dozen well-known folk artists from across Canada have joined in Winnipeg for a weekend-long celebration of the late Stan Rogers, a songwriter who ranks among North America's elite and who has become a legendary folk hero.
Just once to make the play.
Tonight at the West End Cultural, some of Canada's premier folk artists, such as Roy Forbes, were warming up for this weekend's Stan Rogers celebration. 14 different performers from across Canada have united to reminisce and share the songs written by a man who made a difference.
You walk into folk clubs and people are singing his tunes. He's a real major force, and I think it's in the folk community they are aware of that, but it's really nice to celebrate it in this way. I'm in memory of his music more than anything. He's a great writer and an unusual human being, a great writer.
In 1983, Stan Rogers was involved in a tragic plane crash while returning home to Ontario from a Texas folk festival. The accident took his life, but not his music.
He was one of the most important songwriters to influence Canadian songwriters to write about Canada. Because his songs really had a sense of place and a sense of this country about them. And I'm hearing that influence in a lot of the newer songwriters coming along these days, and it's great. There were others that did that, people like Lightfoot and so on, but Stan was a very strong influence, and it's becoming stronger all the time.
His music speaks for itself, you know. He's a good songwriter and a wonderful singer.
It's an unusual event because most of the time you're singing your own stuff, but to sing Stan stuff is great. You know, we've all been fighting over who gets what tune, and Chris Purdy got Tiny Fish from Japan. No. I scored mine really early. I got two of my favorite tunes of Stan.
The trawler's been, see that the trawler's been through the bay, leaving lobster traps smashed on the bottom.
And you can join in the celebration of Stan Rogers' music tomorrow night as well as Saturday night at the West End Cultural Centre. A celebration of a different sort also gets underway tomorrow night. The Winnipeg Film Group is kicking off a month-long celebration of Manitoba films. The agenda consists of weekly movie showings from golden oldies to world premieres, as well as seminars by well-known film critics who all share in the notion that Manitoba films are #1.
At first, it was just meant to be a glimpse of admiration at a job well done. Then, as he went to replace it, something lingered. Something in him beckoned another glance. Funny, he had said to me, how they had put so much time into that label. That little barn is a nice touch. It all looks so calm and peaceful. It would be a nice place to live, come to think of it.
What it offers is for people in Winnipeg, in Manitoba, to really take a look at the variety and the wealth of films made in this province. And working as a film programmer in Toronto, it's really been interesting to see how people come from different parts of the country, in some cases even different parts of the world, and they love the films from Winnipeg. They think the films from Winnipeg are the best films made in the country.
And you can catch The Milkman Cometh as well as other local Manitoba films tomorrow night at Cinematheque. The showing starts at 8 o'clock and tickets are still available. But for now, Ted, that's entertainment.
Excellent. You know, it sort of makes you take a closer look at one's Bic pen, you know?
I know, it's like...
It's interesting, that little guy with the round head and little wave. That was a nice touch.
I know.
I like that. Okay, thanks, Jennifer.
Thanks, Ted.
Oh, boy, do these conversations go at times, eh? When we come back, Keith McMahon joins us, and he'll go like anything with the sports, too. Stay tuned.
Most Canadians are hard-working, mild-mannered people who enjoy quiet, intellectual activities. And the clean, cold taste of a genuine Canadian beer. Molson Canadian. What beer's all about.
Grandpa Redenbacher, I've got the hottest snack idea of the century. Your microwave popcorn with the flavor of sour cream and onion.
Or cheddar cheese?
Your idea, huh?
Who else?
2 hot new microwave snacks from Orville Redenbacher.
This is Hunt's Thick and Rich Spaghetti Sauce. Who else has the thickness of Hunt's?
Ragu hasn't got it. Prego hasn't got it. Kikali hasn't got it. No. Nobody's as thick as Hunt's.
Hello, I'm Bruce Cockburn for USC Canada. Water is scarce in much of Africa. New sources must be found. With support from USC Canada, young Africans are digging wells for drinking water, building irrigation networks, and growing their own food. Parched land is turning green again. You can help. Support USC Canada, 56 Spark Street, Ottawa.
We'll say hi to Keith McMahon. He's along with all the sports now, and I hear the Great One's going to be in town this weekend, but he was busy tonight.
Warming up in Calgary, the Smythe Division's top two teams going at it. Good evening, everyone. Not only are the Flames and Kings 1-2 in their division, but they're second and third overall. Calgary brought a 7-point advantage into tonight's game at the Saddle Dome, and that home team built a 2-0 lead in the first thanks to a 5-minute major. Joey Mullen had both goals on the same power play, his 23rd and 24th. Thurin Fleury with the helper there. But the Kings got right back in it with 2 in 27 seconds. Here, Tom Laidlaw and Igor Liba with the textbook 2-on-1. The Czech comes up with the goal, and it was even at 2 after 1. The seesaw shootout continued into the second. Brad McCrimmon added a pair, his second coming with just 10 seconds left in the frame. It is now early third. Flames and Kings all tied up at 5. If you like offense, they've got a classic going under the dome. Well, both the Bruins and Islanders have shown signs recently of curing their slumping ways. Tonight they met at the Boston Garden, and New York might not be the league's worst team for long. The Bees jumped out to a 2-0 first period lead. Cam Neely redirects a Craig Janney pass behind Billy Smith. But the Isles answered the wake-up call with 5 straight goals in the second. 3 of them came in a span of 75 seconds. Pat LaFontaine, the prettiest of the bunch. And while Reggie Lemelin was still thinking about how that one got away, Randy Wood beat him from long range. Brent Sutter would then cap the outburst with 20 seconds left in the period. Greg Hoggood will get caught pinching in. That creates the 2-on-1. Sutter elects to shoot, and it's a wise choice. He made it 5-2 after 2, and the Isles hung on to win this one 5-3. With all the other Patrick contenders but Philadelphia idle, the Flyers had a chance to continue their climb through that tight division in Minnesota. The Flyers have been on fire, winning 10 of their last 11. But it was the North Stars 2, Dave Poulin 2 after a period. The Flyer captain accounted for all the scoring by the visitors in the first. The lone goal of the second would go to teammate Pelly Eklund. He was sent in alone by Mark Howe and beats John Casey on the breakaway. It was 3-2 Philly heading to the third. And just 29 seconds into that frame, the Stars tie it. Mike Tenorti with his first of the season. Minnesota then gets the winner with less than 5 minutes to play. Mark Habscheid's point shot gets a piece of something that handcuffs Ron Hextall. The Stars add an empty netter, and they shock the Flyers 5-3. Dinamo Riga likely can't wait to get back in the USSR. They lost for the 4th time in 6 games tonight in St. Louis, a shutout no less. And the Jets will be without Ian Duncan for at least a month. He has a fractured elbow. Well, age is a state of mind, and you can see living proof of that this weekend in the Silver Skate speed skating meet at Sargent Park. Mike Beauregard explains.
You can spot Len Barsky working out pretty much every day right here at Sargent Park Oval. In fact, Len Barsky holds down one of the busiest speed skating schedules in this province, and all at the age of 72.
No such thing as seniors anymore. You can stay in shape and compete against people your own age, and basically it's a lot of fun. It's nice to compete, but I say just enjoy it and use facilities and whatever it is that your sport is, just keep doing it.
An avid cyclist in the summer, Barsky spends the winter months up to his neck in speed skating, not only as a competitor, but as president of the Idle Blades, a club for those 31 and over.
I think last year in my club alone there were about 54 members, and we hope that over the years more and more will come. And this year our theme is every member bring a member, and we would like